各位评审委员好，我是智慧制造科技研究所梁书豪老师。我今天要报告的是优化 EMI 教学技巧授课的说明。本学期我教授的课程名称为 5G 网路基础技术 5G Network Foundation。优化 EMI 教学技巧授课说明分为3个部分进行说明。第一个部分，课程设计的架构；第二个部分为课程引导；第三部分为成果展示以及评量方式。在课程设计架构方面，为分别针对教学技巧与创新特色、课程准备、教案设计以及成效确认进行说明。在课程引导的部分，会谈到班级的经营以及小组的讨论。最后，在成果展示以及评量方式，会针对课后教学影片的特点、专题成果的报告以及多元评量方式进行说明。现在我进行整个课程设计的架构说明。课程的设计架构分为教学主轴以及辅助活动。首先，在教学主轴方面，我们希望同学在课前能够做好事先的预习，因为这门课有太多的专业名词，这个是对台湾的学生非常具有挑战性的，特别是用英文授课，所以在课前我会将所有的讲义放在 Moodle 系统上面，让学生可以事先了解相关的专有名词的英文说法。另外，我又会用 Moodle 的 Wiki Page 提供讯息的布告，同学也可以及时回馈发问。在教学实施方面，最大的亮点在于课前的提示。我会用传统的板书方式，把今天所有课程要提到的主要的内容写在黑板上。这样的好处是我随时可以和同学确认今天课程的进度。另外，我还会进行现场的问答，确定学生了解相关的内容。最后是一些延伸资讯，因为 5G 技术的技术讯息更新的非常的快，所以呢，我会在课堂里面呢，随时提供一些最新的技术讯息。这些讯息往往是从网页上搜寻。我希望学生能够学会课程的内容外，也知道自己怎么去找资料。在这堂课，另外一个特色是，我们在课后会提供本日课程的所有影片，特别是我们的课程有实作，学生往往下课之后不知道怎么自己实作，所以有了影片之后，他们都可以再看一次。当然，在授课的过程中，我们会全部记录下来，所以虽然英文不是很好的同学，他也可以透过反复观看影片，能够充分了解整个课程的内容。那在这个课程的结束后，我也会提供 Class Note 放在 Moodle 的系统上面，所以呢，学生可以随时复习。当然，我们希望学生能够确认他的学习的成效，所以呢，我们也会提供 homework， 那学生就会去做 homework， 了解自己需要记得的一些课程内容。最后要提到的是多元评量。我想现在的科技技术相当的变化相当的快，那传统的那一种教学的方式 也就是传统的教学笔试的方式已经没办法因应现代的一些科技技术的学习评量，因此我们会采用多元的评量，会有作业，会有实作。实作方面，我会要求同学将所有的开发的程式放在 GitHub 上面，确认所有的资讯都是完整的。那同学也学习到如何去管理、管制这些code 程式的版本。最后呢，我们会做一个专题的报告。那同学呢，学习如何建立一个 5G 的网络。这是大概我们多元评量主要针对的项目。那在辅助活动方面，我们会分成有3个部分，一个是实作，在这个实作的部分，我们有2项实作，一个是 MANLab 5G Toolbox 的学习，那另外一个是 GNS3 它是一个网络的模拟软体。那这个的好处是学生透过实际的操作，能够加深相关技术的印象。那另外呢，我们有安排一个参访就是参观这个2025年的 Smart City 这个展会，那让同学了解 5G 产业的现况以及最新的技术更新。那最后的专题是蛮重要的一块。那我们会有分成小组，所以同学可以学习小组的合作，那学习到资料的管理、版本的更新。那因为每一组的题目都不一样，那都是要建立他们自己去思考，建立思考能力，最后能达到具备设计的网络的设计能力。那刚刚提到的教学的内容非常的多，所以整个课程是相当的紧凑。那实际教学以及课程的安排，就像如下表所示。那我们有参访这些实作期中考，那一些实作练习，那我们有安排一些练习，配合这个小组讨论，让同学呢是在学习中、讨论中，慢慢的培养出相关的专业能力。那本教学技巧最大的特色应该是在课程提示，也就是板书。那在每天的课程呢，我都会先用大概10到20分钟的时间去介绍当天课程所要教授的主要内容，以及我们的时间的安排。那这个好处是我用比较浅显易懂的英文，大致说明今天的课程主题、实作内容。这样对于同学非这个英语为母语的同学呢，会有比较大的帮助。同时呢，在课程提示的时候呢，我会用眼睛扫描所有的同学，确定吸引同学的专注，甚至问一些问题。等大家都能够专心听我讲的时候，我们再来讲解整个讲义的内容。那事实上我在这个提示方面呢，我都会把它放到我们的 Moodle System 里面。 OK， 那在Moodle 的讲义方面就像我们现在看到的，然后有详细的内容。那当然我们会有一些衍生的一些内容，那这些内容呢都是截录在我的3月4号第3周的影片中。那我们的影片是每个小时有截成一段，所以每天会有3个影片。那课程的准备呢，大概就是2个，一个就是上课前我们准备讲义，然后我们会把讲义放到 Moodle 上，也有包括实作的软体，那我们有一些补充的资料都会放上去， 那有些软体安装，我们希望学生在家里就先完成。那这是我们下课的时候呢，我会把这一个我们的 class node 放在上面。那这是我们po 在这个 Moodle 系统上面的影片连结。那同学有来上课的话，就可以连接上去看这些内容。教案的设计呢，我们是使用这个讲义基本上涵盖完整的技术内容。那为未来同学要有一些延伸的学习研究打下基础。那 class node 呢，它是摘录这个重要的资讯必须要记得的一些terminology 所以呢学生透过讲义 class note 能够很快的 catch 相关技术的精要。那在上课的时候呢，我们也会用到一些问答那这个是采用Nokia 公司的一些教材，那它会有一个问题，那我们在课堂中就有一些问答，那来看大家是不是都了解这个答案。为了确认强化同学们的学习成效我们会有一些家庭作业这个都是从我们课中讲义出的，但是呢严格规定呢不准使用这个 Google 或者 ChatGPT， 只能使用我们讲义中的内容我们主要就是要确定同学确实是有去读我们所有的教材。那期中报告就是像这样的一个例子那期末的话，学生会做一个10分钟的 presentation， 然后会做10分钟的示范，然后呢我们会 check 他们的原始码。好，那在这个课程中呢，我们也有一些实作的学习啦。那刚刚有提到 MATLAB我们会用5G 的 Toolbox让同学了解一些无线电的通讯。那今天所以呢，我们也会让同学体验这个模拟。那相关的教学可以从第9周跟第10周的教学影片里面可以看到。那课程导引的部分呢，我想呢，现在的资讯爆炸，那在课堂教授的内容呢，往往呢有时候会跟不上这个科技的发展进度，所以在课堂上呢，我会请学生去了解，去怎么去查一些相关的资料例如说我们会知道一些 5G 网路的安全架构，那我们就要去找一些相关的技术标准，而不是死守的课本应该是要去看最新的内容。那这个在第14周的教学影片里面有提到这个就是要教导学生如何利用这个网络资源。那关于班级经营的话呢我觉得我们的同学这一届同学相当的不错大家去参观这个智慧城市展，然后这个进行这个小组讨论，然后大家都非常的开心，然后透过这些活动呢，我们培养一些团队的情谊像这个有一些什么工地巡检的体验这些。那再来这是小组讨论的情形那我在小的会议室每周的话，我会约1-2组的同学来针对他们的进度进行这个讨论确定他们的专题的方向技术的细节能够获得解决。再来就是成果展示与评量方式那我们的课后的影片呢，通通是收录在学校的那个 WebEx 系统里面。那这个是5G 的课程基本上这是另外一个课程不过5G 的课程呢，大概我们都有收录起来。那大概这是范例的影片这第3周。那本学期的影片呢，均是放在这个 WebEx Server 同学可以随时进行复习。那我们另外一个重要的成果呈现是这个专题的成果。那学生呢，每一组呢都有做好这个 GitHub， 所以他们都可以保存他们的完整保存他们的计划成果所以在不管未来在就业或是在进一步的学习这个都可以作为相当不错的参考资料这是每一组都有一个 GitHub。那这是我们多元评量啦，那我们有出席homework 然后软体期中报告、期末报告这些成绩加总而来那大概评量的方式就是这样子在进行也确定大家能够得到一个公平的分数。那基本上本学期总共有17位同学选课，不过只有4份问卷但是呢，基本上呢同学们都是对本课程有正面的评价这样子对就业有用对升学有用这些。然后有几位同学觉得稍嫌太重大部分的同学觉得这个难易适中，恰到好处。好，那最后是那个教学期末评量那因为我去看一下系统上面是没有，所以就麻烦各位委员能够去看一下。后面接的会是我的实际课堂授课的情况那我的报告就到这里。
So let's start this class. Before we start, we may take a review for what we have been learning in the past. In last 2 weeks, we have been starting with some basic knowledge. Like last week, we're talking about the radio basic, right? So we know the signals, the radio signals. We know what's an AM, amplitude modulation, right? And the frequency modulation. And for massive data transmission, we need to have a more advanced technology, right? So we use they call it OFDMA, orthogonal frequency duplex. Okay, multiplexing, right? Okay, so but all of these is based on some standard regulations. So I hope you can remember the first one is the third generation partnership program. The program is still running because it starts from the third generation GSM. And this is still running, but the latest one is called 5G PPP. 5G PPP means public-private partnership. Okay, but why you should remember this? Because if you want to know the latest technology update, you have to find some standards, right? Okay, so the 3GPP and the 5GPP are the two major organizations which develop the 5G technology. Okay, so I hope you can remember this. Okay, and last week we started to talk about the 5G introduction, right? I know that the textbook is pretty boring, and we saw a lot of tables have a very small numbers. It's very difficult to read. But just as I say, well, when you are doing some researches, right, you need to have some numbers. You need to have a reference. So you need to find a table. So textbook is quite important. Okay. So that's what we have been going through last week. Remember this? It's 5. Okay, so sorry, that's the first week. We're talking about the 5G and the automobile. If everyone watched the video, no? I mean this video. This video? No? Well, I hope you can watch this because this could be the majority application for 5G. Like I say on the first day, right? Today, 5G seems not very useful for most of consumers. Right? 4G is good now. But in the future, if we are going to handle the car-to-car communications, we really need to have a 5G network to support this. Okay. Anyway, we have been talking about this, right? Remember, enhanced mobile bandwidth, maximum machine type communication, and ultra reliable low latency communication for different kind of application scenarios. Okay, so however, now we are going to go deeper. We know the 5G, array radio access. Radio access network. And except the Nokia, Ericsson, or Huawei system, now we do have open RAM access, radio access network, right? Okay, but all of these is trying to achieve what? Achieve quality of service. You know what I mean? Why? Because once you have an AR devices, AR or VR, inside a stereo model, 3D models, the image require massive data connections. Okay, you don't want to have a LAN. It's not just about video. It's about how to construct the whole 3D environment. Okay, so all of this is trying to achieve this. Okay, you want to have a faster network speed and under larger scale. And also another things is speed. You are on a train, Taiwan is a high-speed rail train, right? Well, maybe it's not very fast because only maximum speed is 300 kilometers, I guess. Okay, but have you ever feel any lagging when you are on a train? The cell phone communication, when you talk to people, when you are using VoIP, voice over IP. So that's a problem. You need to enhance the network. But how can you design a network on the train? And when you think of it, how to design a network. Yeah, that's what we trying to learn, right? Okay, remember, on the first day, we have introduced the network. This, remember? Okay, so you can click on the icons. Like this one is called multimedia, right? Multimedia systems. Click on it. Okay, that's it. So you can click on it. Control. Okay, so you can go to check this function of IMS. This memo will tell you the elements that you need for develop the system. Okay, so with this, you will be able to achieve the quality of service, right? So, what kind of quality are required? Okay, you have to, you can find this information in a textbook, in some tables. Okay, however, the technology is based on these. And there's three major things you have to think of. First one is the IP network. And how can you increase the broadband, enhance the broadband communication? And the next one is computing technology. Computing technology is like a cloud. Your cell phone has quite limited resources, right? So most applications, storage are happened in the cloud. Okay, but how can you reduce the latency? You want the compute resources can be more closer to your devices. Okay, so that's it. We need to have the edge card and the central card. Okay. However, in 5G, we're talking about the network which can provide end-to-end service. What does mean end-to-end? That means the devices, what we call UE. User devices. Okay. What is a network, right? We have a cloud, we have edge, and we also have a network slicing. We can have some dedicated layer or slice for some particular or special service, okay, to make sure we can provide good quality of service, which means the requirements. Okay, so how to construct these, and make sure the network is secure. It cannot be done by human. Why? Why cannot be done by human? Think of a 4G network, 5G network. What's different? For 4G, you apply an account, and then the telephone company give you an account, right? And then you start to use it. Okay, and there is no ultra setting. because it's just a normal account. You are not going to customize your usage. You cannot customize. Right? But for 5G, it's different because it's including what? IoT. But why IoT? Because the consumer market is mature. There is no more, faster growth in the consumer market. Because everyone has cell phone. Right? Maybe you have 2 or 3, but it's on the top. Okay. So in the future, the customer in the market will be focused on the machine or vehicles, the car or the city. So we know 5G is a driver for Industrial 4.0. Okay, but once we look back to the Industrial 4.1, okay, the revolution is based on the power source chain. Right? People start to use steam machine or steam engine, right? Or hydraulic power. Right? Then second revolution is start to use electricity and the massive production line. Right? Okay, so the GDP increased quickly, but after 1950, the GDP drops. Well, in the beginning, the GDP grows. I mean the productivity, because ICT technology introduced automation, right? Okay, but later it starts to drop. Okay, but now we are coming to the 4th generation of the revolution, Industrial 4.0. Okay, so we introduce IoT, cloud, cybersecurity, robotics, many things. Okay, so that's the problems. Because everyone has different requirements. They are not all mobile phone. Okay? Not everyone can run fast. Some sensors, they have very limited computing capability, memories, even batteries are limited. Okay, so you need design. Okay, and maybe become mobiles. Okay, and some devices will add to the network and then leave the network, and then they may join the different edge cloud. Why? Because you want to have a good quality, right? Quality of service. So what you have to provide? You need to have a virtualized function put in the edge, so the user can access the service more quickly. Right. Sometimes the resources will come from a central cloud. Okay. So you may preload here. So everyone can have a good quality of service. Okay. So it sounds quite complicated, right? Yeah, it is. And that's why we need to have engineer to design the 5G network. Okay, but if you look at this, it's just tell you elements, and then you may say, oh, teacher, you say, okay, we need to know the elements, right? Because that could be a server, some service, some edge cloud, right? So I need to go to have some setting. But now you say, okay, it should be automatic. So what can we do? We need to introduce AI technology. Okay. It's very easy to say, oh, I just say AI, but however, something you didn't know, just say, oh, we need to use AI. Now everyone talk about AI, right? So I didn't know how to fix the problem, so I say AI. I try to say this, today, for this moment, we still need to manually to know how to set up. Okay, but in the future, the system should be able to handle the environment changes. You know what I mean? For example, later we are going to have a project, right? Today we will take more time on keeping up later. Okay, so you can discuss on the project you are going to achieve at the end of this semester. Okay, so you are going to discuss the project. So how can you design the network? That can be the major issues, right? Okay, but how? So I'm going to give you a test bed to as an example, so you can start a discussion. Okay, so you need to, no matter you are going to develop an IMS system or IoT system, or you are going to just construct a 5G network which can provide enhanced broadband service for AI, for VR, AR/VR environment. Okay. In the beginning, you need to know how to set it. Okay. So first, you have to know what. For example, I required the latency for emerging stuff to be less than 1 millisecond. 1 millisecond is very short. Okay, maybe you would say 10 milliseconds. Okay, so how can you achieve that? Appear there was something and come back. There's no answer. You know, you may spend whole days on queuing this, but still cannot achieve that. You know what I mean? Like you ask the ChatGPT. If everyone use ChatGPT now, everyone use ChatGPT, right? Okay, it's the same. So you may just give a command. Okay, I want to achieve 1 millisecond latency, and the system will tell you the answer. Oh, but what's the setting? What's the setting? So you will tell you the configuration of the software defined network and the function. And then you may need to create a slide for your application. I mean, a network slide. Got it? Yes. Okay. And also tell you how to arrange the cloud edge. Okay. So once this can be automatically, then what? You lost job. There's no job for you. Okay. I'm kidding. I mean, you need to figure out what's the features, what's the key features to put in, so you can get the right answer. Like the ChatGPT is very smart, right? but you need to ask the right question. Otherwise, you won't get the answer you want. Right? Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now let's go to the PowerPoint today. Okay, so what I